services, something fundamentally is changing. And because of that, you have to do a course, a program, not a course, a program known as Human Resource Management with Informatics. Now, this is not it's not online. I've not uploaded this online, but usually I do this to help students appreciate the course very well. I do what I call an overview of HR. And in this overview, not that I'm not going to teach you all the things that we're going to do, but I want you to have this at the back of your mind. Like I'm doing a synopsis, giving you the synopsis of what human resource management, which is the course that you are going to take with me. Now, we see this course as strategic and systematic approach because I'm sure you might have heard the term, the human capital is the greatest asset of every company. Have you heard that statement before?
Yes, madam.
Yes, doctor.
And you see, so the human resource that you are studying, going to study, shows some strategic. You will find some definitions from Armstrong telling you about the coherence, the strategic nature of the course. So the course is not just ordinary course, but the course that has some dynamism in terms of how to achieve the strategic plan of an organization. Not only the strategic nature, but also a systematic approach of how to manage people, you, the employee in the organization, and how to achieve the company's set goals, whilst also not just that, but also meeting the needs of the employee. So we have the employer and we have the employee. And the employer, who is the managing director, the CEO and management team, with their strategic business unit and whatever, comes out with a plan. They have a goal, they have a strategy. They cannot do it, so they need the human beings. So the human being, which is very, very important, and it's a dynamic aspect of what the organization wants to achieve, has a need that has to be achieved as well. Now, in our today dynamic and highly competitive environment, our business environment is hyper, very competitive. We see that HR, or the human resource management, has evolved over the years. We'll do the evolution of human resource management and see how it has evolved from personnel administration to personnel management to the human resource management and to the strategic human resource management. And even that talked about talent development and so on and so forth. So in today's understanding of human resource, we see that human resource in your organization has moved from just being an administrative role. Why do I say administrative role? Because they look at the recruitment, the selection, the onboarding, leave policies, conditions of service, reward systems. Everything is done by which in the face of it looks like administrative. However, what policies the HR draw must have a strategic component. And so we say that they have moved from just being an administrative function into a strategic partner in organizational success. When we move on, you see models that have been studied to show that HR is highly involved, partially involved, not involved in the strategic nature of the organization. Now we say that in our modern world, the strategic role of human resource is very important because the modern human resource manager must align with the human capital with organizational strategy. When you say organizational strategy, what is it? Every organization that worth its salt must have a strategy, the blueprint, something that gives us direction, what the organization wants to achieve in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. So the organization do analysis of its needs, what we call the SWOT, its strengths, its weaknesses, its threats, and its opportunities. Do other analysis, that the personal analysis, the gap analysis, the situational analysis, and know all where they stand and how they want to move on. So they come out with a plan, and that is very important. Now we see that HR professionals are supposed to take part in the strategic planning, the workforce forecasting, and the change issues that come in the organization to ensure that the organization has the right people with the right skills at the right time. So you don't put square pegs in round holes. You don't give opportunities, job opportunities to people who haven't got what it takes to do it. You don't employ people to run positions that they don't have the competencies, they don't have the skills, they don't have the capabilities. They are there just because they know somebody. Now, what the overview I'm giving you also shows how HR is able to contribute directly to the productivity. Organizations must be productive. Companies must be productive. And the productivity, innovation, and long-term sustainability of every organization is highly dependent on how it treats its HR, how it conducts its HR activities, what policies it comes out with to ensure the sustenance of the organization. So strategic HR role. Now, the overview, I want you to take note, also look at how HR has become so dynamic in terms of how to acquire talent and also plan for the organization. Every organization wishes to attract, select, and retain skilled employees in a competitive labor market. Now, how do they do it? HR must have employer branding. They should be able to brand the organization or the company. Now, right now, if I ask you about Unilever, you say, wow. When I ask you about Nestle, yes. Because they have a unique brand of what they do. Google, Microsoft, Apple, you know what they stands for. MTN, Telecel, you know what they stands for. If I mention any mushroom company, you may be wondering that this company also exists because they have not been able to brand themselves. Now, one of the overview shows that if HR is a strategic partner, then it must focus on how to attract and retain good employees in terms of how it brands the company, in terms of its digital platforms, how in the current nature of things, the digital recruitment platform that they have, in terms of how competent they are when it comes to selection, what we call the competency-based selection, in terms of how they plan who takes over, what we call succession planning. So HRM ensures workforce diversity, inclusivity, and adaptability to changing business models. Now, if you listen to all this, you may wonder, hey, so HR must be doing all these things. Yes, absolutely yes. HR must ensure that we are a diverse workforce, different you, different me. We are all different. However, when we go to an organization to work, HR must have a system to ensure that we are all inclusive and we are able to change, adapt, flexibility and adaptability to change, to do the work of the organization. One interesting thing you're going to find is that the overview reveals that HR is supposed to have training, development, and learning. What you are currently doing is development. what you're currently doing or enrolling to do, this program is development. Training are short courses that we offer online job training to acquire some skills and competencies to do your work. But the long-term one, that is a year or two, is a development. Now, one aspect of the overview shows that continuous learning is very important because we are in a technological changing world, globalization, and that HR must design training and develop programs for its organization, the HR department, to enhance the technical and digital skills of employees. Leadership and managerial capabilities. They must also ensure that soft skills such as communication and teamwork. And of course, learning. Organization that does not learn is not worth living. Just like change, it's a constant thing. So learning is increasingly delivered through e-learning, like we are doing right now. No, we are teaching, coaching, mentoring, and blended approaches. So talent acquisition and workforce planning, training and development, and learning. The other aspect of the overview reveals that performance management is a modern way of assessing or continuously giving feedback on what the employees are doing. We call it performance appraisal, the annual appraisal. I'm sure most of you are working, you are very familiar. And why does HR do that? HR does that to support goal attainment for the organization. Performance monitoring. You cannot be giving the work and you behave anyhow. They have to monitor what you do. Coaching and development, fair and transparent evaluation of the systems, and focus on improved performance while motivating employees. Do we have our numbers now? We are 18. Good. Again, compensation and reward systems are also a fundamental concept about overview that we are doing. Now, what we say is that HRM develops equitable and competitive reward systems to attract and motivate employees. There's a term in compensation we hear about equity. Sometimes there's no equity in our organization. Somebody, you have the same academic background, the same qualification, whatever, you can be employed in an organization. Maybe they're just a different department, and one person will be taken higher than you. That's unfair. But HR must ensure that the compensation and reward systems are good. So what do they do? Salaries and wages, incentives and bonuses, benefits and allowances, and also non-financial rewards like recognition and career growth. Employee relations and well-being is also important aspect of this overview because today's organizations now prioritize employee engagement. There's a concept we learn under management called employee engagement. That those who are actively engaged, actively disengaged. They go to work, they do social loafing. They won't leave the organization, but they're not doing the work because they are highly disengaged to be in the organization. HR must ensure that the well-being, the work-life balance, and manages that through employee relations and conflict resolution, providing occupational health and safety issues, ensuring that there's employee wellness, and flexible work arrangements, and ensure what you call positive work environment. So positive employee relations that contribute to higher morale and lower turnover. Of course, the new systems that we know about companies now is HR, is technology, and it's analytics. And HR is not left out. So HR technology and analytics are very, very important. There have been digital transformation to reshape HR. It is shaping it. Now, organizations use what you call the Human Resource Information System. I'm sure you're going to do that as a course. Data analytics for decision-making. You cannot go as HR today to meetings, board meetings, and go and do assumptions and go and do presumptions. You have to talk with data. HR managers must now talk with data, data-driven. Because you have automated, you have digitalized your systems, and you're able to get the figures at the press of a dot. Automation for HR processes, things you do, and HR analysts help measure performance, predict a turnover, and improve workforce planning. There are things that we are silent about in studying HR, and it's very important. The legalities, the ethical components, and global considerations. We see that HR ensures compliance with labor laws, ethical standards, the moral standards, and organizational policies. These things must be in tune with also what global organizations talk about. And so HR manages cross-cultural issues, international labor standards, and global talent. So we see that the overview reveals that in today's organization, HR is a critical driver for organizational effectiveness and competitive advantage, because we look at how strategy supports HR. So if it is managed strategically, if people are managed strategically, they're able to embrace the new technologies, they're able to foster employee development and well-being. HR supports both organizational goals and employee satisfaction. So that's my overview for you this morning. Now let us go into our lecture 1. Our lecture 1. Do you have any questions for the overview? Do you have questions for the overview? The overview is just to give you a tip of what you are going to do. I think the course code is 601. And in our first lecture, for what you are supposed to do, we're going to look at foundations and evolution of human resource management. Now here, our major learning objectives and goal is that you have a scope, you understand the scope and the concept and how important HRM is. And also give you the opportunity to critically analyze the evolution, how it started, and also develop understanding of the human capital as a strategic organizational asset. At the end of this lesson, I expect you to be able to define what HR is about and why is it important in a modern organization. At the end of the lesson, I'll ask you these questions. You have to tell me. To also tell me how you understand the evolution of HRM, and also how you think that HRM contributes to organizational success. So in this lesson, we are going to look at the meaning of HR, do some distinctions between personnel and human resource, examine its functions, various approaches of understanding how business strategies are formulated in the organization, look at some models, and then look at some policies and all that. So what is human resource management? Now let me ask you, why did you decide to do human resource management? Alice, why did you decide that from all the many courses, the programs the university runs, you are interested in human resource management? Alice.
Thank you, Doctor. Please, I decided to pursue this course because it will enlighten me as an HR person to know how to deal with my staffing and also in planning, and then also in aspects of recruitment, and how to be fair with my staff, how to go about their needs, what they want, and then the things that can help staffs to be more efficient in the development of an organization.
Awesome. So you're already in the field. Awesome. Very good. So let me also hear from Baba. Baba Akins, why did you decide to do this course?
Okay, I decided to do this course because I'm already in the field, kind of, but I wanted like a hybrid professional course, which is adding the informatics to it. So the HR aspect and then adding the tech aspect too, which is a bit rare and then also quite valuable. So that's why I decided to join it.
Awesome.
And then also end up being an HR analyst too. So that's actually my focus. Yes, please.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Reverend John Ritchie. In fact, I should have done your expectation for the course, but it all takes time. As we do this, we all unravel our expectations, the reasons and expectation for the course. Reverend.
Yes, Doc. Good morning.
Yeah. Morning.
So the reason being that for me, as a reverend and as an administrator, working with people, dealing with people all the time. So my purpose for enrolling in this is to be able to know what really goes into it, rather than just the speculations and using other. I just wanted to know more about it in order to be able to bring out the best results and bring out the best in people. Basically,
awesome. Yeah, you have not ended.
Oh no,
that's it. Okay. All right, Naomi. Why did you enroll in this program? Naomi. Naomi, I hope you are not preparing breakfast and pretending to be in class.
I don't believe so.
Okay, all right. Wonderful. Why did you decide to do this course?
I decided to enroll in this course in order to develop my expertise in managing an organization with variable acting. That's the 8 people in terms of training.
Okay.
Recruitment.
Okay. Okay. So listening to you, apart from the knowledge acquisition, you also need something. You guys need some HR skills and some HR abilities, which is not part of this course, unfortunately. I've handled students, and when I listen to the expectation, I see that we should have a component to look at how HR, like you, people in the field, are able to develop skills. What we are going to give you is knowledge, know a bit of skills, however, but based on the time, it's mostly on the knowledge and your ability to apply the knowledge. But if we have time, I'll see how I'll bring on board some of the skills you need as an HR person. You need certain skills. You need certain skills. You need certain abilities. You need certain competencies, not just the knowledge. All right, let's move on. So I want to understand what HR is and why does it matter? So we are looking at one author. He's called Dessler. And the person defined HRM as the process. Process. Anytime you hear process, it means it's not definite. It's a process. So define process of acquiring. In fact, if you do international HRM, they talk about HRM as procurement. And you'll be confused to think that, is it a procurement they are talking? Instead of acquiring, they use the term procuring people, procurement. So they explain that it's how you acquire, you train, you appraise, and compensate employees. So take note of the words here: how to acquire, how to train, how to appraise. If you remember my overview, we are talking about the recruitment, the training and development, the performance management, the compensation, and also the labor issues, the health and safety and fairness outcomes. So the employee fairness, the employee well-being. So this definition captures almost everything, even about the overview, minus technology. So in essence, Esther views HRM as a systematic set of managerial activities. So if you're in HR, you must see this as a managerial activity which will ensure that your organization effectively manages its people. Somebody will ask, what about the resources? Because we are interested in the human resources. Even though you use the resource, the capital, the money, the infrastructure, it is the human component that is our focus. That contributes to both organization performance and employee well-being. Now, if you look at Esther's book, we see that, which is one of our textbooks for this study, his definition of HR look at the entire employee life cycle. So sort of recruitment to retirement, recruitment to when the person leaves the organization. It's also look at how to combine administrative legal issues as a strategic responsibility. All of us are guided. Those working in HR, you are guided by the labor law. You are guided by your internal policies. So that somebody doesn't take you on. You are guided. Various policies, conditions of service, so many policies, guidelines, so that you are able to stay focused. The definition also focuses on both performance outcomes. So the performance outcome, the feedback, we want to know ethical and fair treatment of employees, and also plays a critical role in achieving organizational effectiveness. So one definition is looking at all these things. It covers everything that you need to know in an organization. So contemporarily, we say that HR has a crucial role in today's organization, and that it's a key driver of how the organization achieves success and also sustainable. You may hear the word competitive advantage, and you may hear the word sustainable competitive advantage. Organizations strive for sustainable competitive advantage. And we are saying that HR is a key driver to achieve that. Now, as we have said, it has evolved over the years, transition primarily from administrative function, which we'll look at it very soon, to personnel, and now seen as a strategic partner for business outcome. So we're going to provide how its evolution, its roles, and its importance, and its focus of it on how HR departments are able to do that to achieve success or goals for the organization in a rapidly changing environment. Now let's take another writer called Armstrong. You cannot study human resource management without coming across Armstrong. Then the teacher did not teach you well. It's a popular book for the studying of human resource management, Armstrong. Now he also explains that HRM in a contemporary organization is strategic. Let's not talk about systematic. Let's not talk about systematic. Armstrong talks about strategic and coherent. So when we say something is coherent, what does it mean? What's the meaning of coherence? Coherence. Can somebody explain that to me? This is English. Coherence. What does it mean? Coherence or coherent. What does it mean? Oh, this is English, please.
Not consistent and makes sense. Something that makes sense and it is consistent.
Consistent. So I would
Madam,
take
clear
yes.
and well organized.
Clear
Like smoothly.
and well organized.
Yeah, like smoothly. Something which is clear, like to understand something easily.
So Armstrong is telling us that human resource management is all about how organizations, they are strategic, they are consistent, they are clear, they show smooth path or approach to manage people who are working for them, the employees, in a way that enhances. What I like most about this definition is that it's not leaving out the individual worker. That enhances the individual and organizational performance. Most of the time, we see the organization, they're only interested in how they'll be productive, how they'll be profitable, how they will gain market share, higher market share, leaving out the welfare needs of the individual who's working for the organization. But this definition puts all together to ensure that there is an enhancement, that process that is put in place, that strategic nature of what they do, what HR departments are supposed to do, managers are supposed to do, specialists are supposed to do, must be coherent, must be consistent, must have some smooth approach to how to manage people. And the management of the people, the essence is to ensure that the individual as well the organization achieve performance. So that is why we have what we call career planning. The individual is able to chart a path to grow. The individual is satisfied with the job description, job specification that is given. The individual is satisfied with the compensation. The individual is motivated, that's the right word, to work it all out for the success of the organization. The individual is ready to support the strategic goals of the organization. Because not only the organization, but the individual working, the employee. That's why we said earlier that the human capital is the greatest asset. We have heard that robotics and digitalization, it's all taking over, likely to take over what we do, even teaching. That one day we'll have a system that you're not in a human being, everything will be robotics. Will come and teach you all the HR that I'm teaching you. So what is required of you and I is also to acquire the skills that artificial intelligence is bringing. We need the skills to also be useful in our field. Now, if we integrate Armstrong's definition of human resource, we say that contemporary organizations are concerned strategically managing people to achieve sustained organizational success, at the same time promoting employee commitment and development. It's very sad in some of organizations that they don't think about the employee. They see the employee as a factor of production, and they don't see the employee as very important aspects. That is why you need a strong human resource department in your organization to be able to fight and come out with policies that align specifically the objectives of the organization. Now, if you want to go too deeply into the evolution, we will not end. So we're just giving the surface of it. Now, we see that HRM, as we are studying today, has undergone various transformations. It evolves from somewhere. What I like about knowledge is that knowledge is not static. Knowledge evolves. Knowledge evolves. There's always new things that we are learning. And the new things that we are learning does not do away with the old knowledge, but rather enhances it. It tells us why what the old ideology may not work, how the old philosophy is not working, but it's as a basis. The basis give us an understanding of the new phenomenon that we see in our learning. So HRM is very dynamic. It's a dynamic course, and I'm very happy that you want to study it. 1 second, please. So we are told that the human resource management started as a personnel administration. That what they were doing were limited to just personnel administration. So in the organization or the company, HR were only keeping records of those who have come to work. And then how many days did you come? Okay, 5 days out of 15 days. They were doing payroll processing and also complying with the labor law. So they were just doing very menial work. Then over the years, the role expanded to include personnel management. So personnel administration to personnel management. And we are told that here, the human beings began to have some recognition. The employee seems to have their welfare needs taken into consideration. They felt that they have to train them and give them some importance, some dynamics of what they are doing, some training, hands-on training. So personnel management moved away or enhanced the personnel administration. What is important to note is that the demands of today organization have really transformed the HR into a dynamic function. A dynamic function known as the human resource management, which emphasizes on aligning workforce strategies with organizational goals. So even with just these three, you see the role that HR what HR it is now seems to be play, or what it has gone through. Now let's look at the nitty-gritty. We are told that there was something called the human relations movement. And this originated in the early 20th century by a man called Frederick Taylor. Now, Frederick Taylor came up with a concept called strategic scientific management. Frederick Taylor concept was how to use science in managing people, science. Science to calculate the number of times you come to work, science to calculate the number of payment you are deserving, science to do everything. So we call that scientific management. And he used that to ensure that the manufacturing companies were really not overusing or they were minimizing costs, lean manufacturing. So Taylor introduced a concept called scientific management, as I just said, which is also known as the Taylorism. And the essence was to enhance economic efficiency in manufacturing roles, manufacturing companies, not in service. Now, his research emphasized that labor as a fundamental component of the manufacturing process lead to deeper exploration of workforce productivity. So Taylor believed that if you apply the scientific components, those who are working for you, they will do all their best and it will enhance workforce productivity. Now, this study, the human relations study movement, moved on. It became more structured, following another research by Elton Mayo. In fact, if you want to talk about it, we will not finish. The Horton studies. They did so many studies to ensure that are human beings robotics? Are they not human beings? They are social beings. Why do you want to restrict them this only by scientific studies, scientific things? And they saw that there's something beyond financial incentives and working conditions. They saw that if you engage the people well, they will work their way out for you. But instead of restricting them, division of labor, instead of restricting them, specialization, they are very, very limited. So they also did a lot of studies, the illumination studies, the lightning studies, and so on. And they came out with how to engage employees better to increase productivity, not only the lean, the strategic management components. So their studies highlighted the significance of employer-employee relationship, which they believe lead to proper industrial and labor relations as a more discipline. The evolution also reveals something very significant. The formalization of the industrial and labor relations, they were also driven by a theory for strategic workforce management and involvement of public policy. So we are told that in 1913, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development was established in England, and they were known as the Welfare Workers Association. So how we now have the unions. We have the unions. You know, in my organization, we have the UTAG, the FUSAG, the TEU. So, but they have undergone different names. They have changed over the years. So the first higher education institution, which was dedicated to workplace studies, was Cornell University. So Cornell University also decided to do workplace studies to understand the nature of how people work. And so Cornell's University School of Industrial and Labor Relations was also founded in 1945 to do some studies. We are told that during the later half of the 20th century, union membership declined while workforce management gained prominence. So the industrial and labor relations became associated with collective representation, leading many companies to rebrand the field as personnel administration. We are also told that in 1984, the American Society of Personnel Administration, which later became known as the Society of the Human Resource Management, was also founded as the largest professional HR association. So apart from studies, there were some public policy or what you call public institutions that also stood up or that also emerged to support. We're told that advancement in transportation and communication in the 21st century also enhanced workforce mobility and collaboration. People were moving around to go and work. And companies recognize there's a need for employees as valuable assets rather than mere components of a system. So the HRM became a dominant term, leading to the association of the American Society for Personnel Administration rebranding themselves as the Strategic Society for Human Resource, Human Resource Management in 1918. So while human capital management is often used interchangeably with human resources, we want you to know that focuses on knowledge and skills employees bring an organization into a very important state. Other terms used to describe the field include organizational management, manpower management, talent management, personnel management, and people management. What we are saying is that we have used the term human capital to mean human resource management, organizational management, manpower management, talent management, personnel management, people management. In some organizations, they may not even use human resource management. They have different names. So in a summary, that we see in the phases that personnel administration was more of administrative tasks related to hiring, wages, and record keeping. Personnel management shifted towards employee welfare, industrial relations, and conflict resolution. And human resource has come in. Now we have strategic human resource, which is a modern HR focusing on linking HR strategies with the overall business strategy of an organization to ensure competitive advantage. Now, in our study, we will see how HR is a strategic partner. It's a strategic partner of every organization. And it must have its strategies to support the administrative work or the organizational objectives of an organization. Why are we interested in HR as a strategic partner? Have you heard the word strategic alliance? Have you heard the word strategic alliance? Have you heard the word strategic alliance?
Yeah.
Yes, Doc.
Please, what does it mean?
From my understanding, Doc, it would mean forming some partnership with a purpose of achieving a set goal or objective.
Thank you so much. So going forward, now HR is not just there to perform administrative functions, but HR is a strategic alliance or strategic partner with the business of the organization. So the business of organization, for instance, if you come to the universities, is to teach, research. And what we are saying is that HR must have a focus. In the telcos, the business organization is to provide the phones, provide the network. And we are saying is that the human beings, the engineers, they have a stake in the success of the organization. The business organization is a service provider, a restaurant, the chef, the service. They have a role to play to ensure that you become successful. So having HR as a strategic plan, there are many things, but we are going to look at how the workforce planning is able to help. If HR has a better workforce planning, what we call human resource planning, which is part of its strategic planning, it leads to long-term organizational growth. Talent management, able to attract and develop and retain talent to ensure the organization has the human resources needed for future growth. Succession planning, if you listen to the overview, all these things were mentioned. It leads to how you transition leadership, identify and develop future leaders within the organization. Now, HR is a change agent. If you read other texts, they will say that the human resource manager, one of their roles is that they are change agents. Because when the organization is going to have some changes, have you heard of mergers, acquisition? Can you tell me any country, any company in this country that you know that merged or were acquired?
Tigo, Doc.
Fantastic. So what we are saying that HR has a very important role to play when it comes to mergers and acquisition. Because it must lead. There's a statistics or a study that it's in there that shows that if HR does not, even when HR was so much involved, they achieve success. Now, there's so many models. We have the guest model, we have the Harvard model, we have the matching model. They all have their understanding of how we should study HR. Now, this model, when we talk of a model, how do you understand it? A model. This is a model. You are studying something, this is a model. Very soon you'll be writing your thesis, and then they will come out and they will tell you that what theory are you using, or what model, what framework? What are you using? What conceptual framework are you using? What model will you be using? Sometimes we hear that, oh, this organization, they have a business model. What is a model?
But from my point of view, like a guiding framework for the organization, something that is guiding the organization towards whatever that they want to achieve.
Good. So some people did some studies and provided us models for HR. I've told you there are many models. We are just going to concentrate on the matching, the Harvard models. There are many models. You have the Michigan model, so many of them. Now, there's a model called matching model of HRM. Now, the Michigan school in USA, Problem et al., these people in 1984, they made one of the first explicit statements about human resource concept. You see, when there's something like artificial intelligence and people are writing, how does it affect management? Is it ethical? How does it affect business? How does it affect supply chain? How does it affect HR? How can HR use people? That's why topics are coming out. People analytics, predictive HR analytics, automation, so many things. So people begin to study. And when HR also came up like that, the Michigan school in 1984 with these people, Forbren et al., Forbren Associate, the other writers, they also made some explicit statement about the concept human resource money. What did they say? They say that they see HR as a system and the organization structure. What is an organogram? What is an organogram? What is an organogram?
And I would say the diagram of the organization's structure.
Good.
How
Organizational
So the organizational structure is also known as the organogram. But what does it do?
Madam, please,
it
it
is
shows the
the
structures and the organization, the relationship between positions and departments.
Very good. The relationship between the departments. So as for them, when they were trying to think about HR, they said that HR is a system. It's also, the organization also have a structure. And they said that it should be managed in a way that is harmonious for organizational structure. So if you study models of organizations, there's a model that talks about systems, structures, and strategy. Systems, structures, and strategy. So these people were saying that to understand the concept of HR, you must understand the HR system. What's the HR system? What is it? What's the HR system? What kind of systems does HR have to operate? What kind of organizational structure? What kind of organizational strategy? And they said that these must work harmoniously. Hence the term matching model. So if you want to understand our organization, human resource management, then you must understand the kind of HR system they have. Is it a system that supports the structures of the organization, supports the strategy of the organization? What kind of system is this? What kind of processes, procedures? How is recruitment done? What technology do they use? How is selection done? How is adverts done? What kind of system do they use? Did they outsource it? Is it carried out by assessment center? What kind of system? So what they said is that, okay, so, okay. Okay. So this is what they said. They said that the HR has 4 generic. When we say something is generic, what does it mean? Generic. Generic. Something is generic.
It could mean general, not necessarily specific to a particular thing.
Thank you. Not specific. So they came out to 4 generic processes or functions that are performed in all organizations. For HR, they said that HR is supposed to do selection. They have to match the available human resources to jobs. That's what we call job analysis. You cannot take people on board unless you have done job analysis and know your job specifications and job descriptions. Job analysis, very important. They talk about appraisal, performance management. They talk about rewards, how you pay people, whether short-term or long-term. They talk about development, developing high-quality employees. So they generally said that HR has these 4 functions to perform. And these 4 functions are the selection, appraisal, rewards, and management. So they call that the human resource cycle. Now, if you are a critic, let's say that I give you this diagram and I ask you that look at our contemporary world. What is going on currently in our world? And I'm asking you to critique this human resource cycle that was developed in 1984 from Fombrum et al. What will you say? What do you think is missing here? Because they are saying the cycle starts from selection to performance, goes to rewards, then there's the rewards, the performance management, either you'll be rewarded, which also informs whether you'll be developed, which also informs your performance. What will you say? I want to see how you think about this. What you critique this diagram?
Okay, I would like to contribute. So if we are looking at today's HRM, yes, we'll start from selection, but then I think we'll move on to training first before even performance management comes in. So I don't know if that would count here.
Awesome, awesome. You are going to look at orientation, how you train the person. Okay, but studies also says that when people are employed, you give them the opportunity to explore their skills. Now, after performance management, then you know whether to train them or whether to develop them and also reward them. But what you are saying is perfectly right. So I also need to give them the training before they can perform. Good. What else is wrong with this diagram? Yes. Look at contemporary things.
Madam, I would also say that I'll start with selection. But then with where I work, from selection, performance management is not done. Neither is development. But then rewards. People are selected and they are rewarded. They don't go through any performance management, no development for you to say that, okay, it is going to affect their performance. So people are selected and rewarded from where I work now. That's how the HR is going.
So what is wrong with it?
So at the end of the day, the output of the organization, the employees' effectiveness or the total outcome is not helping the organization towards its goals. Because when people are selected and then they are rewarded, now the performance are not managed, neither are they developed. So what the goal of the organization is always at a standstill. That is how I see it.
Good. Excellent.
I think, Doug, I also start from, I think when you look at the HR structure, I think there should be a recruitment, taking the recruitment, then selection, performance management then comes in. Then you give the person the training. So there is a mission of training. Then you look at after the training, you see how the person performs. You look at the performance and then you help them develop the skill or their performance. Then based on their performance or their outcome, then I think there's a need to reward, to appreciate or to recognize the person's performance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you see how the diversity of models affects the performances of HR in contributing the success of the organization. This model maybe is being practiced by some organization. The HR manager who probably started long time ago in that organization probably only know about this model and has been practicing this model so many years. and it has been repeated over and over, and it's so consistent. So my advice is that we must always review the kind of model that the HR department uses. You have to critique it. How is it this done? Because sometimes in our organization, for instance, you come, you are interviewed, you apply, you are interviewed, you demonstrate how to teach if you want to do a lecture, then you assign a department, a faculty. At the end of every year, there's what you call peer review, and also performance appraisal from students, appraisal from your HOD, and all that. So you see our model. In other organizations or universities, they may only use the student's appraisal, not the HOD appraisal. In other organizations, they may use maybe the HR and not ask this, but we have heard of 360-degree appraisal and all that. So the model that the organization or the HR department adopts has a great influence. So this is the human resource cycle adapted from Fromber et al. To explain HRM concepts. We have talked about it, so I won't explain this again. Okay. So let's move on to the another model. The other model is called the Harvard Framework. The Harvard Framework. So the Harvard School of Bear et al. In 1984 also developed what Box All in 1992 referred to as a Harvard Framework. Now, this framework is based on the belief that the problems of historical personnel management, personnel administration, move to personnel management, then to HR, can be solved only through something. It's very long, but it says that can be solved when general managers develop a viewpoint on how they wish to see employees involved in and developed by the enterprise. So if general managers want to see how employees are part of the development of the organization, and what HRM policies and practices may achieve those goals without either a central philosophy or strategic vision, they can provide only by general managers. So they believe that the problem of personnel management can only be solved by general managers. So HRM is likely to remain a set of independent activities, each guided by its own practice tradition. So they are only talking about HRM as having, this model is looking at the role of the general manager. So they believe that in today's many pressures that we face, a more comprehensive, more strategic perspective with regard to organizations' human resources, there's a need for a longer-term perspective in managing people, considering people as a potential asset rather than merely a variable cost. So the personnel administration and the personnel management still regarded human beings as a variable cost, factor of production. But they were the first to underline the HRM tenets. HRM believed that it belongs to the line managers. So they believe that HR managers should be line managers. They also stated that the human resource management involves all management decisions and action that affect the nature of the relationship between the organization and its employees. So the only important thing I see here is that they emphasize the importance of the human being as well as the role of the line managers. Now there's a question here for you. What are your critical reflections on these assertions, and also in relation to the changing nature of work, including the environment and people management to do the work. It's very long. So find time and look at it. So the Harvard model suggests that there are two distinctive characteristics. Line managers accept more responsibility to ensure the alignment of competitive strategy and personnel policies. I'm coming to ask you who's a line manager, who's a staff manager. Now, personnel has the mission of setting policies that will govern how personnel activities are developed and implemented in ways that make them more mutually reinforcing. What is the difference between the line manager and a staff manager? What's the difference? Yes. What's the difference?
Hello, Doc.
Yes, please.
Esther here. Actually, I'm new to HRM, but I want to contribute.
Sure.
I'm a pediatric nurse and then a caterer as well.
Wonderful.
So with the line manager, I want to make an example. With our organization, we have something called a duty manager. So his or her responsibility is to have a direct managerial responsibility for, say, a particular employee. So the duty manager makes sure that doctors, nurses, and everybody does its work. And with the personnel manager, how I understand is this.
The staff.
The staff, exactly. So, like with the nurses, we have nurse managers. We deal directly with the staff, and then the duty manager, being the line manager, make sure that the nurse managers and all others see to it that the employees do their work efficiently. I don't know
Excellent. Thank you so much. You made an effort. Thank you so much. Using your own experience and your work information to explain them. That's wonderful. Who else can help us? Who's a staff manager? Who's a line manager?
Okay, Robert, I'd like to contribute on this one.
Okay.
So basically, I'll say that the line managers are more of the first line of contact when it comes to how the business operations are done. And then the staff manager will be the one underneath the guidance of the line manager. So whatever business operations or documents or let's say strategies that come up from the line manager, it's run by or run through with the staff manager, and then it goes like down the chain to like the other staff members. So in the case of being in a contact center, we have the unit manager who is the line manager, and then we have team leads. In this case, will serve as the staff manager.
All right. Thank you also very much. Now, let me ask you, in your organization, if you have a legal person, let's say an institution like a university, what will the legal person be regarded, a line or staff?
Madam, I'll say staff.
Good. Why so?
Madam, what the legal person done is a specific thing. He has been assigned a specific job for the organization.
Thank you. So in our organization, those whose work schedule has to do with the business, the core business of the organization, they are the line. Now, those who provide support, so finance in my organization is a staff, legal is a staff, because the organization does not exist to do legal issues, to do finance issues. When in different companies that is a core mandate, other work also become staff. I hope you understand. Those who give support, whose work schedule are not necessarily in line with what the organization exists to do. So if you take the university, we exist to teach research. So if somebody is in the research department, it's in the line responsibility. Now, if you have a legal person or a salesperson to even market the thing, it's not the core business. They are supporting. So try and get the difference very well. So we have those who support without that's not the core business. If they are not there, the organization can still function. However, they are needed to support the entire, no, the organization cannot function. Let me say, not let me retreat. But then, like this right now, we're supposed to do the core function of the university to teach. So at this material moment, the finance person is irrelevant here. Meanwhile, the financial person must support us, pay for the links and all that, pay for whatever we need and all that. But the finance person's core business is not to teach. I hope you get it.
Madam, please, can I come in a little bit?
Yes, please, Miriam.
Okay, please, I'm also new to human resource management. There's a new field I'm undertaking.
Sure.
I'm in an automobile company. I'm with finance. Okay. I'm with finance. So with the automobile company, so will I say that my line managers are probably the head of technical and then probably maybe technical supervisors, but finance unit becomes a staff.
Yes.
HR becomes a staff.
HR becomes a staff, yes.
Okay.
Very much so. Very much so.
Okay, madam.
Yes, please.
Since I think in roughly you mean that the line managers do the work and manage the people, right? And the staff management rather supports and maybe give advice. So in between an HR manager and an administrative manager, who is the line manager and who is the staff manager?
Okay, so I've said earlier that it depends on what your organization is doing. HR, finance, legal, they are all supporting the organization. It depends on what the organization do. If the organization is into manufacturing company, something, those into manufacturing, they are the line people. They are doing the core business. So if you're asking me that the administrative person and the HR manager, who is the line, they're all doing the same thing. They're all giving support. But if you have administrative manager whose core function is to ensure that the work of the organization is done, that person is the line manager. Whose core function is to ensure that the business of the organization is carried out. The person is a line manager. It's not staff. But the ones that are providing support, they are staff.
Hello, Doc.
Okay, madam.
All right, so if I'm to cite the hospital as an example, then it means that doctors, nurses, surgeons, and all that, they happen to be the line managers because they do the core work of the hospital.
Yes.
Then cleaners, educators, those who see, then even the HR department, are they the staff?
Yes. They'll be providing support services. So the line managers, they have direct responsibility. Direct. Without them, the organization cannot work. So if you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist, you are providing, the patients, you're looking after patients. Your work is very important for the success of healing somebody or whatever.
Okay, so let me get this.
They provide support, advice, some specialized advice.
Okay, so the other, when we come to say the cooking aspect, the chef and then the server. How do you differentiate the two under the line manager and then the staff?
Now, if the organization is a restaurant,
Right.
then they are line. If it's a
Both.
restaurant, they're line.
So you have the chef and then the one who serves to
They
be
are
the
all
line
line,
manager.
and they are all line because they are
Okay.
doing the core business
Okay.
of the organization. They are
Okay. Thank
doing,
you.
have direct responsibility of how the organization will be successful, be productive, or achieve its goals.
Thanks, Doc.
Are you okay? All right. So let's
Yes.
move on. So the Harvard framework for human resource was also saying that we should understand some key stakeholders. HR must have interest in key stakeholders and also understand some situational factors which also feeds into what they come out as policies and how their outcomes support the long-term consequences or whatever. So they're saying that if you look at this figure, the framework looks at what are shareholders. So you can't make policies and run the organization, understand HR anyhow, without understanding your shareholder interests, your management, the employees, the governance, the government, because the government has a role. Whether you like it or not, you live in in a country, the rules, the regulations, the regulators, all those issues come. If there's tax increase, it affects you as an organization. And the unions, they say that HR, understanding HR, you must take cognizance of these key stakeholders. You must also take cognizance of situational factors. What the nature of our workforce? What kind of people do we have? Sometimes HR asks this question. These days, the kind of workforce we have, they're not serious at all. Look at the demographics, the Gen Zs, these people, the millennials. Well, I mean, they have different outlook to work. Business strategy and conditions, management philosophy, labor market unions, tax, technologies, and whatever, believes that these situational factors all feeds into stakeholder interest analysis. And according to them, that has to be analyzed very well. Now, this sends us to a concept called pestle analysis, but there's a bit of internal factors. So I would say that a bit of situational or SWOT analysis, meaning that before you can come up with the policy, HR policies, they must have a better understanding of the stakeholder interests and build policies for the employee, that influence the human resource flow, that influences reward systems, the work systems, which they believe that must have good outcomes, like will help the employee to be committed, to reduce their costs, they will be effective, they will show congruence or coherence and lead to a better long-term success. Like the individual will be very happy to work for the organization also achieve its success. So there'll be, and then the shareholders who are not working directly, but or stakeholders who are not working directly, but they have influence, there'll be a societal well-being. That's their understanding. Meaning that you cannot understand HR without taking cognizance of the stakeholder interest in building your policies and achieving your success. So that incorporates the recognition of a range of stakeholder interests. They also record the importance of trade-offs, either explicitly or implicitly, between the interests of the owner, the stakeholder, and those of employees in the various interest groups. They also widens the context of HRM to include employee influence, They understand the importance of the employee as having influence on the work they do. And then the organization of the work and associated question of supervisory style, management style, and all that. They also acknowledge broad range of contextual influence, management's choice of strategies, suggesting that you have to have a product and socio-cultural logics when you are looking at the broader interest, and also emphasize strategic choice, which is driven by situational environmental factors. So the model, the importance of this model is, my take of it is how they recognize the wider stakeholder interest. Any question? Should I move on?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Good.
doctor. Yes,
Sure.
doctor.
So what is the aim of human resource management? Aim. Because if you remember the first slide or two, we talk about what is it and what is the aim. What is the aim? So the main aim, maybe you go out there and somebody asks, you say you are studying HR. What is the aim of HR? What's HR class supposed to do for us in the organization? They are diabolical people in the HR. Many of us, that's how we see HR. They favor others and they disown others. They are biased. We talk about them so much. But the purpose of HR is to ensure that the organization is able to achieve success through people. So if you are working in the HR department, your first focus must be the success of the organization, the goal of the organization. You understand the business of the organization, the model of the organization, and you must play into that model by supporting the organization to have the right personality to achieve its success through people. Now, Woolrich and Lake remarked that HRM system can be the source of organizational capabilities. HR systems. So the kind of systems HR comes out with is the source of organization capabilities, the competencies that allows the firm to learn and be able to capitalize on new opportunities. So I always tell students that when you work in an organization, you must build yourself very well, that you have some key capabilities, some key competences, some key skills, some key knowledge, that when there's something, they'll say, let's call on Esther, let's call on Nana, let's call on Naomi, let's call Patricia, let's call on Nab, let's call on Wisdom. Let's the Zoom user. I don't like that thing at all. Who is a Zoom user? Put your name there. Rename yourself. Miriam, Grace. Ahinakwa, Alice, Baba. Let's call on them. I think there's a name I haven't mentioned. Who has been contributing? Yolanda. Have I mentioned your name well? So let's call on them.
Yes,
So
Doc.
good. So I always tell students that, look, you don't come and study for studying's sake or coming to do a program. I'm studying HRM informatics at this university. Oh, you're doing master. Well, that's wonderful. No, that's not enough. You must build yourself up in a capacity that you become so relevant in your organization. When it comes to HR, you are there. If it's marketing, you are there. If it's something that you build yourself up, let's say, oh, when you're contributing at meetings, they say, oh, yes, like the Bible talks about. They say, oh, the way the disciples talk, you see that they have been with Jesus. You talk like you have been to school. But those things, it's your responsibility to build yourself up and build some key competencies, key capabilities yourself. Because our friends are telling us that The HR system can be a source of organizational capabilities. The HR must have a system that the people, they have the capabilities that can be leveraged upon for new opportunities. So if you have some key capabilities, you can leverage upon your capabilities, can leverage upon your competencies and your skills to become somebody, to do something, to make an impact in your organization. And that's what the aim of HR is supposed to be. And so specifically, let's look at some of it. HR must ensure that they're able to achieve organizational effectiveness. Now, what is the difference between effectiveness and efficiency? What's the difference between effectiveness and efficiency? Yes. What is the difference between effectiveness and efficiency? Effectiveness and efficiency.
Okay, madam, please, I want to give it a try.
Do.
Okay. When we say you are efficient, like you help accomplishing a task. But when they say someone is an effective person, you are able to use the goal that you have achieved, whether being right or like effective. Yeah, when you're effective, you're doing the right thing. Are efficient, you are able to accomplish a task, the ability of you accomplishing a task. But when you're effective, you are either doing the, knowing that you are doing that, you are achieving a desired result or doing the right thing.
Okay, madam, please, can I come in?
Tried. Yes, please. Esther, yes.
All right. So when we talk of efficiency or effectiveness, and with effectiveness, the person is able to do the right thing. But with efficiency, the person is able to do the right thing with some minimal resource.
Good.
I don't know. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I always give example in class that maybe your organization is deciding to put up a project. Let's say, let's take Esther's place, the hospital. So maybe another maternity ward. And then they call project managers in the organization. Project manager one, Esther, he says, oh, the organization has a resource, allocated budget to say $100,000. You are a project lead person. And you say, oh, okay. How many maternity beds we need? Okay, 100 beds with all the salient gadgets and facilities, whatever, you know them. So you say you'll be able to do it. Then another project manager, like who has been talking? Patricia. So we have Esther. Esther says that she'll be able to do it. Then Patricia also says to be able to. So they ask you to bring your proposals. But we find that the proposals of Esther, instead of 100 beds, she'll be able to use the same resources, the same staff, whatever, the same engineers to build 120 beds capacity with modern facilities, new maternity ward. So we'll say that Esther is efficient because she's able to use a minimal amount for more output. It doesn't mean Patricia is wrong. Patricia, the organization said that they have $100,000 for 100 beds. That is a desired result. So she's able to also do exactly so. She is effective. But organizations strive for efficiencies. Organizations people strive for efficiencies more than effectiveness. So you are effective because it's not a bad thing. You set out to do this, you're able to achieve it, that's great. But if you set out to do it, same quality, not cutting corners, same quality, and you're able to do it, we say you are efficient. So in summary, what we are saying that the organization HR aims for effectiveness, not even efficiency. We are not going there. They must also aim at managing the human capital, the people, the employees. Some HR don't know how to manage people. They don't have good systems. They don't even understand the HR concepts. They don't think about what they do to link up with the organization strategies. They act arbitrarily, hard work, the sense. No training, nothing. Only employing people they know who are incapable to face the work. So human capital management, knowledge management. HR must leverage, the aim of it is leverage on your knowledge to build a higher and productive organization. Reward management, I've said it over and over that HR is not supposed to pay. However, they are supposed to determine who gets what. Employee relations and meeting diverse needs of people. Now, what I like most about this aim is what we call bridging the gap between rhetoric and reality. They say that in our organization, there's something called rhetoric. Management says one thing and they act another way. Management says that you'll be on probation for 3 months and then they push it to 6 months. Management says that they will pay you your back pay after promotion and they sit on it. So there's, in our organization, there's what you call rhetoric, what they say and what actually happens. And the aim of HR is to ensure that what management, what organization policies are, what they do must, one second. So the most important aspect here is bridging the gap between rhetoric and reality. And you must cast your mind into the organization and say, and find out what the management said they were going to do. They don't do it. But it's the work of HR to ensure that this is done. What the organization set out to do for employees are done. So the explanation, look at what organization effectiveness is all about, what the human capital is about, the knowledge management, reward management, employee relations, meeting diverse needs, and then the overarching goal, which I like so much, is how HR is able to bridge this gap by making every attempt to ensure that aspirations are translated into sustained and effective action. They don't just allow the organization to do anything. There's always a wide gap between the rhetoric expressed above and the reality. And HR must look at them. Any question?
Doc,
Yes.
a little, when you were touching on organizational effectiveness, you mentioned efficiency, and you said we are not going there. But thinking through, since we are all aiming at the ultimate, bringing the best out of every event, why doesn't HR focuses on efficiency but rather effectiveness?
Hey, who is asking me that question? Who?
Jonathan, John Ritchie.
Reverend.
Yes, please.
Reverend, what annoy? Reverend, answer that question yourself.
Oh, I'm only thinking aloud because, sorry, in the scenarios that were cited, where you cited an example, a particular project is supposed to cost a certain amount, a budget is raised, and then one person is able to execute it with the same budget raised. Another is also able to do, but with less resource. So I was thinking, since that one then has high prospects, I was thinking that probably the focus would rather be on efficiency rather than
effectiveness.
Yes, please.
I think studies have shown that HR hardly, if you look at statistics, I don't have it at my fingertip, but maybe in the international organizations, maybe in the tech giants, they're able to achieve efficiency. But many studies shows that even the effectiveness, most of the HR units struggle. They are not there. HR is not there. Which of the HRs are able to stand to bridge the gap between rhetoric and reality? They're always siding with management against staff. Which of the things, the effectiveness, they are not there. They're not effective. Our HR departments are not effective, including their staff. They are not there. Simple automation, they are not there. The human resource systems, they are not there. If you come to my organization, there's no automation. Meanwhile, we are what we call technology university. HR must have a system to show that at the press of a button, every information about everybody is there. If they have it, then I don't know. They're not there. There's so many lapses in our HR department. So the question is, how can they be effective and to support the organizational strategy to make the organization productive? So if you work in HR, you have a lot to do. They are not there. They are not there. Those who are there are probably using models that have been created by them or that are suitable to them to ensure that. Go to our public sectors and talk about HRM as effective. I doubt. Knowledge management. It's mebahache is what we do. This is how we do it. Let's adhere to the status quo. No change. So whether good or bad, that's what we do. We adhere to it. Who are you to bring new idea? Where did you study? Harvard or Oxford or Yale? Where? Or GCTU? Come of it. They are not there. That is the truth. They are not there. There's so many lapses. So many lapses. But that's the aim. So if I were you, I will ensure that some of us, we have learned it. We don't practice it. But sometimes we give advice. If I get an opportunity, I tell HR manager, look, HR director, look, this thing, it's not proper. This is not proper. These are legal issues that we would send the university to courts. Let's work on it. This is not proper. This will not help. We have to manage this very well. As HR, you should be doing this. You should be checking this, even this. You see? So our HR is not there. Rev, are you okay?
Yes, bro. Thank you very much.
So let's help them. But you see, it all also depends on the leadership thing. If the head of HR has this knowledge and this, somebody is saying something. This knowledge and this
Hello, Doc.
what is happening? MSc, whatever. Yes, please.
So, Doc, I don't know whether we could blame just HR. I was also thinking, fine, even though HR helps with recruitment and everything, you have an organization where people want to bring in their own people. So when it happens like that, I believe HR, their hands are tied.
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't it's I don't know. Maybe it's not just them, but probably the whole.
It's part of the problem. If you are HR, then you must have a say in what the organization does. If you are silent-landed, then it means that you can't be effective as HR. And honestly, they see themselves as, they are doing something. They're doing something. We're doing recruitment. We're doing this. We're doing this. If you ask them, can you give me a data-driven? How many staff? How many are likely to terminate their appointment? How many are likely to leave? Looking at trends. When we look at trends, how many are likely to go on retirement? What's the plan? They'll come and tell you that, this simple. No, you should have a system that should be able to help you to talk with the modern language, data. Data, very, very important. Okay, let me quickly, 6 minutes. So there are models of HR. We look at aims of HR. But Caldwell also talk about 12 policy goals of HR. They say managing people as assets that are fundamental to the competitive advantage of organizations. Organizations want to achieve competitive advantage, so they have to manage them well. They have to align HR policies with business policies and that of the corporate strategy of the organization. They have to develop what we call a close fit. A close fit of HR policies, procedures, and systems with one another. They have to create a flatter and a more flexible organization capable of responding more quick to change. HR one policy is to encourage teamwork and cooperation across internal organizational boundaries. Create a strong customer first philosophy throughout the organization. Empower employees so they're giving us some. These ones are rhetorics. I will say rhetorics. Develop reward strategies designed to support performance-driven culture. Improve employee involvement through better internal communication. Build greater employee commitment to organization. Increasing line management responsibility to HR policies, and these are some of these ideas. So when we look at characteristics. HR is diverse, is strategic with an emphasis on integration. HR is a commitment-oriented. So if the HR is not committed, then it's lacking in its future. It's based on belief that people should be treated as human, as assets, human capital, unitarists rather than plurals in terms of how it solve employee problems. They say that they should not be pluralistic when they are solving our problems, but rather they should be individualistic because we have individual differences. A management-driven activity. So HR is a management-driven and should be delivered by line manager responsibility and focus on business values. When we come back, we are going to look at personnel management and human resource management and all that. And I hope we will finish today. Any question? Any question, any understand, any contribution? Okay, so let's break for now. We will come back around 12:30. Will that be okay? Now,
That's fine.
please, for those of you who came late, I beg you. I have a class right now. They have even tested me at 10:30. So take your lunch break from now to 12:30. Is it a good deal for you? I know you can't eat lunch this time.
It's fine.
Thank you so much for your understanding. So I'm going to teach another class. I'll close at 12:30.
Okay,
I'll
madam.
try and close a bit early. So
Okay.
that when we start at 12:30, I'll do maximum. I don't like teaching too much. Maximum 1:30. So that if you haven't eaten lunch, you can go and have lunch and continue your next class, which is 2:30 or 2 o'clock. Is it 2 or 2:30?
2:30.
So I can give you that. So I'll teach up to 1:30 and then leave you to do other things. So
All right.
I'm grateful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too, madam.
We're going to have a good time together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, I was hoping that we would take the opportunity to have our discussion now that Doc is away. I don't know if I see a lot of people have dropped off already.
That won't be bad.
Yeah, since we have a little break, we can do some 10, 15 minutes of introductions of ourselves, so we can know how we can, map out our strategies for, the course. So I don't know if Alice is online. The rep, maybe you can put it on the page so that the others can come back, and then we'll have discussions.
Okay, I'll do that right away.
Right, sure, thank you.
Please, who is talking?
Hello.
So we are waiting for the others to join so that at least we have like 4 or 5 people more to join. Then when they join, we can start our discussion, if that's okay.
Thank you.
I think we are 21 in total, right?
I guess so. So we just need like 6 more people to join.
We have 6 more people. Okay, I've posted it on the platform, so I think they will join very soon.
Okay.
But I think we can start since we have about 15. We
Sure.
can start.
Sure, we can.
But please, can, as Prof said,